Alright guys, just me again. Got a bit of a slightly comical, interesting topic to talk about today. Um, it's at the request of one of my close friends. We were discussing possibilities of movies coming up and adapt possible what ideas were possible adaptations of films in the future. And we were joking around and stuff, and she said out of the blue, Hugh, I'd really love it if they did a Sailor Moon movie. And I have to admit, I laughed at first. And I said, yeah, maybe possibly they could, but they'd have to change quite a bit in order to make it real. And she said, what do you mean? And I told her these points, and I thought I'd bring them across to you guys, just as in a quick little video, as to as much as Sailor Moon could be a movie. Um, it would possibly be a bit different to what the fans definitely would expect, and there would have to be a lot of changes to suit it to a Western audience. So anyway, what is Sailor Moon? Sailor Moon was a manga comic um, decades ago now. I mean, it's scary how long ago Sailor Moon was originally released as a manga. It's about a young girl who discovers that she's the princess of the old Moon Kingdom that was destroyed, and she and the other people of the Moon Kingdom are reincarnated on Earth, and it follows her in her alter ego as Sailor Moon, Defender of Justice, and the other Sailor Scouts, all representing different planets in the solar system, as they fight the evil forces that come against them. It stretched for 5 different series in the manga, and then in the much more popular anime version, it definitely with Western audiences. I think that's how it came. That's how they came to know Sailor Moon, by the anime rather than the manga. Um, so, but anyway, why do I think that they would need to do a lot of changes? Well, first of all, it's focused. It was a girly manga. You know, it really popularized the concept of the magical girl, or manga genre, which is where female heroines, they use magic or other powers to transform into the costume superhero fighters, and they battle evil. Nothing wrong with that. Sailor Moon, however, transformed into a version of a Japanese schoolgirl outfit, which is a very tight top, which very much pronounced the boobage, and I'm talking a really small thin skirt here that really hid nothing. In the anime, they had to be careful not to show the panties of the girls, as if they the number of times they fell down, they would obviously have shown. And actually, perhaps I should mention the fact is, originally in for the Asian audiences, Sailor Moon was softcore hentai. Hentai being the genre, I mean, of adult fan service, really. Hardcore hentai is sexual cartoons. That's how I'll put it across. And then when it was actually transferred to Western audiences, it was actually changed into a cartoon for little girls. So if you go, you can find all this information up online, and of the lot of the editing they did, to be honest, is in order to make it acceptable for younger girls to watch, and I think they were also trying to make it for boys with the extra fight scenes, etc. But anyway, they would just have to. My point is, the costumes very slutty, very revealing, and very focused on a sexualized version of these teen girls. So if they did a live action Western movie, I feel that the costumes would be dramatically changed. They might keep the schoolgirl magical outfit theme, but at the very least you'll see probably much longer skirts and not so pronounced sexualization of the characters. My second point is that in the manga and the anime, though, as much as the characters fought evil, it was really they were just using their special attacks and blasting their opponents. There were some scenes where they fought masses of enemies, and they had some good little martial arts moves, but that was very rarely done. So they would have to include a hell of a lot more actiony, like Charlie's Angels style fighting, I think, in order to draw it across. The third part was that later on other Sailor Scouts were introduced, Neptune and Uranus and the other planets. It's Neptune and Uranus were lesbian lovers, and that was kept that again fan service for the hentai thing, and also because it was focused at a female audience in the manga, but the author wanted to have relationships. There were men. Sailor Moon had a male partner who I'll might talk about in a minute. But Uranus and Neptune were full-on college-age lesbian lovers. It was changed in the English adaptation that they were just cousins, but actually that made it a bit more creepier because they didn't edit out the scenes where occasionally they held hands or they were quite close, almost, to kissing and stuff. So it made it a bit more creepy. But if they were doing that adaptation, I'd like it to be in, because it's very central to those characters. But for a Western audience, I mean that's the other thing. What do you aim this movie at? Are you aiming at the young, girly age, if it was live action from before? Well, you can't, because you'd have fighting in it. Do you aim it then at, young adult males? Well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have the sexualization, but it's going to be very highly rated. And to be honest, as much as they want to see powerful women slugging it out, the cute campiness of Sailor Moon series and symbolism and such might not appeal to what the young Indians are attending. So I think it'd be a bit tricky figuring out an audience for a westernized version of the Sailor Moon franchise. And going back again to the lesbian thing, I want to stay in there because it is central to the characters, but Western sensitivities, it's still very hard for gay characters to be portrayed in a movie setting. It's more acceptable on TV. I'm not entirely sure why. I keep trying to rack my brain for it, but you don't often see it in the cinemas unless it's specifically crucial to the plot. But you don't usually see a proper full-on gay relationship, and I think it would be edited out like it did with the anime. So I covered the fighting, etc. The other point I was going to make was the plot of it. When you get a manga plot or a book plot, etc., you need to be able to kind of shorten it down to movie form. Look at the Harry Potter series. It had a kind of overflowing arc with the whole Voldemort thing, but because it was divided up into easily managed books, they were able to make perfectly good, made perfectly good movies of it. But Sailor Moon is very much a manga arc series, and when you get mangas which are much smaller chapters, almost like in a book form, it would be much harder. The entire thing of Sailor Moon was it had an overarching plot throughout the series, but each chapter dealt with a monster of the week, and then occasionally the controller of that group of monsters and fighting him, beating him up and such. It'd be very hard to translate that over into a movie format but keep the same feel of what the manga was at the end of the day. I think what we'll end up with, if it is done in the future, is something that feels very different to what the manga and the anime was. You might as well call it a Sailor Moon movie, but have it as a totally different thing within the franchise. Acknowledge the fact is this is Sailor Moon, but it's not as you remember it, sort of thing. There's been long-standing rumors that the more popular current mangas like Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, etc., they would there's been interest from Western film companies about making a Western adaptation of it. People have been against it due to the fact that it's very much Asian culture. I personally am against it, not because of that, I mean, look at the sheer amount of Western audiences and teens that are very much into all the manga and all the characters and stereotypes that come from it. Ninjas, Shinigami and stuff. They're very into that, so there would be an audience for it. I'm against it because I don't see how they could take the plot of Bleach and shorten it and condense it into some sort of movie form and do justice to it. It's just not possible. They were talking about doing the whole arc of, Age of the Shinigami and the Soul Society rescue thing. Even if you had probably 2.5 hours, I don't think you could condense that level of plot, that level of character interaction into it. And there's like loads of fights in those arcs of the manga. Are you going to take all those fights and put them into the movie? After the 10th sword fight, even the most ardent follower of Bleach is going to sit down and go, yeah, I don't want to see any more sword swings. Not today. I mean, that's how it's manageable in the anime, the fact that they were giving it a lot of airtime for each fight, but at the same time, because it was broken up into different episodes, it didn't like overwhelm you or become dull at the end of the day. So yeah. So just wrapping it up and such, I mean, all you have to do is look at the most recent, a few years back when they did the Dragon Ball Z Western movie, which was, to be honest, a complete abominable failure. And you'll see, how poorly they can do a Western film adaptation of a Japanese manga. So as much as I would like to see a Sailor Moon Western film, I think they would really have to be quite careful, and they would have to take their time just figuring out exactly how they're going to portray it at the end of the day. So yeah, those are just the points I want to make. Sorry I waffled on about the end talking about other mangas there, but I hope it all interrelated to what my general main point of it was. If you have any thoughts about a Sailor Moon movie or any of the other mangas I mentioned being movie form, let me know. I'd be glad to hear your thoughts on it. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.